It's the Steve Day Show, and here's what happened while we were away. Brought to you by Assault and Battery, now identify as flagrant 2 fouls. In the WNBA over the weekend, the Indiana Fever and Sophie Cunningham, who believes dudes should not play against women in women's sports, well, they were back in action against the Chicago Sky. On a fast break, Sophie Cunningham was assaulted in broad daylight by Sky player DeJounte Carrington. Cunningham got an elbow to the face, a bloodied nose, and still made the shot. Carrington got a flagrant 2 foul for what should be a crime, got ejected, and posted on Threads, of course, from the locker room, quote, white privilege, and copied the Indiana Fever social media account. Who knows what the motive for the on-court crime was, racialism or Cunningham's stance on creepy dudes in dresses or some combination. What we do know is that Cunningham's coach, Stephanie White, had nothing but good things to say about the woman who assaulted her own player.
One of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose the hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the net.
Learning Chinese today, today's phrase is, these are evil women.
她们是邪恶的女人。
Later on in the game, Fever star Caitlin Clark was ejected for making incidental contact with the referee. After the game, the technical foul that led to her ejection was rescinded by the WNBA. The response from the sports media was predictable, with all the usual suspects making excuses for the on-court assault we all saw. Taking the cake is Sports Illustrated, who had to change the headline for their story from what they originally had, which read, Sophie Cunningham got a bitter taste of karma after drawing a flagrant foul in Fever Sky. After yet another microcosmic example from the communist construct that is the WNBA about what the American communist wants to do at large with the country, which is to say, get whitey, it sure seems like the woke is not being put away. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, fresh off freezing her eggs over the weekend, has some thoughts on the odds-on favorite to win the Wisconsin Democrat gubernatorial primary, Francesca Hong.
What do you make of those controversial statements I'm sure you've seen? I mean, she's, the Thanksgiving dust-up. She says she doesn't, still believe that, but, the abolished prisons, abolished police, which is also positions that have been taken by a lot of the progressive candidates who have won. How do you get around that?
Right, she's moved away from it, and I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy. I think that, during lockdown, of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today.
Woke one was crazy, says AOC, which is to say that woke two, which is exactly the same as woke one, is not crazy, which is to say that words mean nothing. The communist will discard any position Zizé held 5 minutes ago.
And the points don't matter, yeah.
Not to worry, though, because communist America is soon to be subsumed by Islam. At least Red State America is getting wise to it.
This is a dangerous ideology you're allowing in their country.
Now, that's a Christian who used to live in Iran, speaking in front of the McKinney, Texas City Council against a proposed Islamic center.
Let me make it very clear to you. Christianity is a personal relationship with God, where it says, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. Islam is Sharia law, deen wa dawah, religion and state, which is not even compatible with the American thing. And when these people will use taqiyya to lie to you, to manipulate you, because whenever Islam is little, they will lie to you and tell you they come in peace. This is level 1. Level 2 is what's happening in UK right now. The worst people that are trapped in it is Muslims themselves, because they can't leave that dead cult, because they're told if you question that disgusting book, you're called a kufar, and they get killed over it, just like my friends who are apostates in prison or dead right now in Iran. I'm telling you, this is a bad idea, and you're gonna regret not listening to people like us who lived under Sharia law.
The McKinney City Council voted unanimously in favor of the construction of the Islamic Center. James Tallarico, your thoughts?
The real fight in this country is not left versus right. It's top versus bottom.
Okay, you know what you do? You buy yourself a tape recorder, you just record yourself for a whole day. I think you're going to be surprised at some of your phrasing.
And that's what happened while we were away.
Got me on that. I did not see that one coming. What exactly did we get for feminizing everything in the last generation? It seems like our women are just worse than they've ever been. What did we get for this? And what is the value to native-born Americans to having a single Islamic center anywhere in America, let alone deep in the heart of Texas? We'll get into that and more here next. Stay tuned. Greetings. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm Steve Deace alongside Todders and Aaron McIntyre here. We're live, and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. You guys have a great weekend?
Did.
Busy, but good.
I know that I know you had an inordinate amount of windshield time, right?
Down to Nashville area and back in 3 days. So, yeah, but Tessa's where she needs to be one more year, senior year.
There you go. There you go. Are we where we need to be as a people?
Definitely not.
Well, let's discuss. And again, I'm on record. The men are the head. Okay. And ultimately, you tell a lot about a culture by the condition of its men. But that doesn't mean women are not responsible for their own actions. And it is quite possible that this is the worst generation of women that's ever existed in the history of the Western world, collectively. And you're seeing it on parade. And it's after we did everything we could to feminize literally everything, starting with the church. Remember, was it on Friday or Thursday that I was paraphrasing one of my favorite C.S. Lewis quotes? If you aim for heaven, you get earth thrown in. Aim for earth, you get neither, right?
I remember. Yeah.
And I said, hey, here's the thing. If you aim for the men, you'll get the women thrown in. But if you aim for the women, you'll get neither, right? I think I said that on Thursday or Friday show. We were having this conversation.
Statistics bear that out as well with raising kids in the faith.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, as you know, many studies have shown, if dad goes to church, the odds are regardless of what mom does, the odds are overwhelming that the kids will eventually go to church as adults. And if dad does not go to church, regardless of what mom does, the odds are overwhelmingly lower that they will, right? So that kind of bears out the headship argument, right? But, you know, one of the things we've talked about in dealing with headship over the years and what submission is, and if you look up the term submission, by the way, in the original Greek, what you're going to find is it means submission. That's actually what it means. But, you know, submitting to your husbands as is fitting to the Lord, I believe is how Paul puts it. And I want to say that's in Colossians or Ephesians because he deals with this subject in a couple of different places. But I think that version's in Colossians. What does that mean? As is fitting to the Lord. Well, ultimately, the man is the head of the home. But who's the ultimate authority in the home? God. And so, therefore, if a man decides as a family we are going to, or as a marriage, we are going to deeply and gravely sin. We're going to turn Breaking Bad into a documentary, right? We're going to become human traffickers. We're going to abuse the children, right? If he does those things and the wife goes along, does she get to say when she reaches eternity, well, it's this husband you gave me and I had to submit to him? Is that how that works? No. So therefore, even within submission, she is still responsible ultimately for her own actions.
There's a hierarchy of truth.
There's a hierarchy. And so even if all the men, so we've said this to the men quite a bit on this show recently, right? That even if all the women in the world were terrible, it wouldn't change one iota whatsoever what God's expectations are for you as a man. It might change, for example, how you're going to carry those out, right? If they're all terrible, marriage is suddenly not the prospect it could be. Maybe children's not the prospect it otherwise would be, right? But your idea, but your calling to take the dominion God has given you and obey him and live as faithfully as possible is accountable to God as a man, not to the surrounding women around you, right?
Right.
Ultimately. See, this works in the other direction too, though. This works in the other direction too. And how's it work in the other direction? That wives are to submit to their husbands, but as it is fitting to the Lord. In other words, if the husband is disobeying the Lord, do not submit to that. So both men and women mutually have accountability. They don't mutually submit. That's not true. Well, not to each other. They mutually submit to Christ. It's just he submits first, and you submit to him, to Christ through him. But if he does not submit to Christ, then you still do the same. But in this last generation, we put women on top, just like we inverted the first and second commandments, right? Just like we decided that love your neighbor as you love yourself was the most important commandment, not to love the Lord your God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. We talked a lot about that, like last year on the show in particular, right? But we also have to remember, though, that correcting that error does not mean we go so far as to eliminate loving our neighbor as we love ourselves altogether, because it's still the second greatest commandment, though it's pretty high on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So it feels like in this last era we've flipped the headship paradigm too. I haven't said it for a while on this show, but for the longest time I used to say, trust me, bro, the only thing worse than the patriarchy is going to be the matriarchy. You guys will probably remember when I used to say that a lot.
Of course.
The WNBA is like an infomercial for what I'm talking about, right? What does that mean? The only thing worse than the patriarchy is the matriarchy? Well, the only thing worse than the system God entrusted under free will to sinners to keep order in a fallen world, the only thing worse than that will be doing the opposite of that. That's the only thing worse than that. All right? The only thing worse than, well, we're in a sinful world. Jesus has not chosen to return to culminate history yet for reasons he doesn't have to explain to us. He's king, he is God, he is Lord. He gets to make that decision, correct? So our job until he does, sound the shofar, is to occupy until he comes, to live as faithfully as we possibly can, right? And this is the order he has given us, to keep as much order as we can in a fallen, imperfect world among those of us who are either sinners or saints, but even the saints are still waging war against the world, their own flesh, and the devil. Is that a good summation?
Sure.
So you're going to get some imperfections and blemishes in that system, right? And that's why we have to have corrections, right?
Yes.
So then what would be worse than that system? Completely flipping it on its head and just going with a matriarchy instead. Doing the opposite of what God said to do in an imperfect world would be even worse. And like the WNBA is like an infomercial for this. I mean, for example, the woman who assaulted Sophie, and that would be an assault, like in any other context of two women engage in that behavior, and one of them does that to the other, that is an assault, like in any other context but a WNBA court. Can I get an amen on that?
Sure.
All right. So, but then the woman who committed the foul, or the crime, dared to jump online and claim white privilege within minutes after being ejected from the game. Because nothing says white privilege kind of like, or you're a crusader against white privilege, kind of like straightening your hair and dyeing it, or wearing a wig. I've heard both sides of the story. I don't know which it is. Either purchasing a wig or straightening your hair and then dyeing it. In either case, so that you can look exactly like the white girl you assaulted. Stay black. You bet. I mean, can someone explain what's black empowerment about that? I mean, I can't stand white people and white power structures, which is why I'm going to change my hair to look exactly like them. Does that make any sense?
It does not.
You know why it doesn't make any sense?
Because it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. That's Animal Farm level stuff. And they look for pig to man, back to, and pig and man to pig and back to pig again, and they couldn't tell which was which. They couldn't tell the difference. And so for this last generation, we've done everything we could to cater to women. Like, you wouldn't find a household in America like 70 years ago where people said things like, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Maybe that was even true back then, but like people weren't like saying stuff like that back then. We did everything we could. Everything we could. And you know what? Pretty much everybody's kind of miserable. I think that's the verdict, right? Everybody's kind of miserable. Nobody's really fulfilling the duties God had set before him or before them. We've got dudes fighting over a Call of Duty tournament, okay, instead of the Islamic Center in their town, right? Okay. And so we just absolutely stripped mine the entire culture. Why? Because of what I just said. The only thing worse than the patriarchy, I promise you, is going to be the matriarchy. You took the exact system and the order that God set in place in response to a sinful world and decided we're going to do the opposite of that. Well, if you're doing the opposite, can we play a logic game? Can we solve a simple logic puzzle here today? Is that all right?
We can try.
After all, we're doing it live. All right, can we live here?
Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. All right, so if it seems as if God put we used to say, you've maybe heard us say on the show too, that if God is the maker of all reality, then to deny God would be what?
To deny reality?
Yeah, and what do we typically call the kinds of people that deny reality?
Insane. Madmen. Yes.
Yeah, madmen. Right. We used to commit people that denied reality.
Yes.
Right now they get elected to high office or vote 7-0 for an Islamic center and deep in the heart of Texas.
They're head coaches in the WNBA.
That's true. They're that too. Yes. All right. So if If we decide that we're going to do the opposite of the system Almighty God put in place to, as best as we can, mitigate against the fall and the deep causes of sin and its consequences. If we decide that we're going to do opposite of what Almighty God decided was the best way to mitigate the consequences of the fall and sin in our fallen and created order, if we're going to do the opposite of that, what do you think we're going to get more of, do you think? Just throwing it out there. What do you think? If we do the opposite of the system God said, this is what will best mitigate the consequences and ravishings of sin in the world. If you do this and we do the opposite, it just seems logical. What will we get more of?
We're going to freeze our eggs at 36 years old, even though we
Bingo.
believe that the planet is going to end in 10 years because of global warming.
By the way, the best snotty take on that I saw from that Peachy Keenan gal on X. Actually, AOC is just kind of lowbrow or low-key admitting women can't truly have it all. If you take it that way, it's a pretty base take. I thought that was very funny. I laughed out loud at that this morning. All right? What she's saying is she's kind of admitting I can't, be a craven politician and a mom at the same time, so let me freeze my eggs at the ripe young age of 36, right? That's not what she means to be saying, but isn't that what she's kind of saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can't outrun the old magic. As far as we run, Jonah, as far as we run, to the and sail to the other side of the globe, we always end up back in the Lord's will. We can't escape it. Can't outrun it. Dread it. Run from it. The word of God arrives just the same. And so it only makes sense if we decide as a species, on second thought, I don't like the system that God put into place for reasons to mitigate as best as we can against sin. Because people aren't perfect. Except for, of course, my people. They are. And if we do it my way, we won't succumb to the same ravages of everybody else, right? Wrong. We'll be the WNBA and refuse a $1 trillion golden goose. Just refuse it. And black power while straightening my hair and dyeing it blonde to look just like every other white girl I've hated my whole life. We'll do that. We'll do that instead. This has happened in the church. We have the softest generation of men the West has ever had because we've targeted everything at women. And like I told you the other day, men love this. By and large, they do. Now, if you're a man in an audience like this, you'd be the type of one that probably doesn't love it as much. Fair?
Hope so.
Just like if you're a woman in an audience of this, of a show like this, you're probably as disdainful of every matriarchal trend line that we've articulated as we are, right?
Yes.
Okay. But unfortunately, and I'd be wearing a nicer Riley Green jersey today if this were the case. We only represent a minor portion of the overall culture. Fair? If the overall culture was in tune to this show, I'd have a private jet, right? Yeah, but it's not. So outside of our enclaves, this is the culture writ large, and everybody is miserable for it, and it hasn't worked. So one question I have this morning is, what's the benefit? What's the ongoing benefit to literally anything in the culture to continue feminizing everything? What's the ongoing benefit to it?
Well, Feminism 1 was a little crazy. Let's try Feminism 2.
Nice. Very well played. Likewise, okay, so because we decided to feminize everything, we have a situation that would have literally caused wars in posses, wars, vigilantes. You want to know why they didn't wrestle with Islamic centers getting 7-0 votes in Texas 70 years ago? Because that dog don't hunt would have been the immediate 10,000% response, particularly of the men. But since we decided to go ahead and feminize everything, which then let the men claim to be the sons of Adam they are and just have their hands in their pockets and do nothing, while literally all hell was breaking loose, we now have McKinney, Texas, of all places, by unanimous vote, imposing a, quote, major Islamic center. we're going to have, so what are we going to do about this? Well, we're going to have to go back to square one. We have to ask questions like this. What is the benefit? What is the benefit to the people of this town, to the people of this state, and the people of this community to have an Islamic center here? Considering it represents a worldview that has either cannibalized or destroyed every country and culture it's ever taken hegemony over. Would you have rather, if you lived in the Middle Ages, would you have rather lived anywhere within the Holy Roman Empire or the Ottoman Empire? What do you think the answer to that is?
The former.
The former. Why? One worldview is superior to the other. Forget Westerners. If you're a Muslim, would you rather live here of any stripe or in any culture in the world that your worldview has hegemony? Where would you rather live?
Ask that Iranian guy at the meeting.
Exactly. And if that's the case of your own worldview, what about those of us who think you have a flawed and false worldview? What is the benefit for this? And I think it's time in every primary now, in every town hall, to start asking that question and just roll tape. What's the benefit of this? What are we getting for this? Well, we need jobs. What kind of jobs? Well, jobs, Americans won't do these jobs. Well, they won't do the jobs, or they won't do the jobs for the level of wage you're willing to pay. Well, we need cheap goods. I mean, I don't know, if you ask people, are they willing to pay 20 to 30% more for produce at the store in order to ensure that their children don't get blown to bits by an Islamic extremist and this doesn't look like downtown Riyadh? These are the kinds of conversations and arguments we have to be prepared to have. And when I say we now, I mean everybody. So I said before, I know the women, and most of the women in this audience, the vast majority of the women in this audience, are probably disgusted by the feminizing of the country. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the men in this audience are probably disgusted by the feminizing of the men. Fair?
Yep.
So I'll grant that within our own audience, but this flips the script now on this question. Because it's going to have to be the men and women within audiences like this. You're the ones that are going to have to ask these kinds of questions and expose this. Because apparently this goes all the way down now to the city council level. This is no longer, this is where, and here's the thing, even a show like mine, and the bigger show you go, the less ability we have to impact your city council, your locale. Because the broader our audience gets, it's just math. So this is where you're going to have to do this. The people within the sound of my voice. You have to get everybody on the record. What is the benefit to this? Who's benefiting from this? Why would the people of this community benefit from having this worldview here? Who would rather live in McKinney, Texas, or Dubai, which is the most moderate Muslim country in the world? No one. No one would. No one would. At least no one we'd want to have here. So then what is the benefit to this then? Why are we benefiting as a community? Why do we need this? Oh, we need jobs. Well, do we need jobs or do you need like cheap labor jobs? Well, you need cheap goods. Okay, I mean, if you ask the people, are you willing to pay 20 to 30% more for a bushel of apples and seedless grapes in order to ensure your kids don't have to learn Arabic and, get blown up by a suicide vest? I mean, I'd make that trade. How about you?
For sure.
I'm guessing most of us would if it was put to you like that, right? These are the conversations now we're going to have. All the way at the molecular, granular level. And frankly, this is where you people are going to have to come in because these are your communities and your cities. And you're going to have to fight for them. And the first step to fighting for them is this conversation right here. Because why this conversation? Because you've got to convince the normies that have been emotionally worked over that they've been emotionally blackmailed. And so you need to frame arguments that wakes the normie voter up. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
Well, if you, at the state level, you cannot let your municipalities just continue to have a free-for-all that always ends up in tranny chaos or Islamic chaos I mean, listen, what I'm asking of Texas and their state house is probably a bridge too far. But there needs to be just legislation in place where this cannot happen anywhere in Texas, and we're just not leaving it up to municipalities. And by the way, that's not tyranny, that's subsidiarity. There's no reason. You don't have the freedom if you live in Texas to go full Islam. Minnesota, maybe that's the place for you, but not Texas. And a guy just on X posted to me saying, "You're the guy always lecturing us, go to the school board meeting. They showed up and nothing happened." It's great that everybody showed up, but it's clear based on the fact that it was 7-0 that everybody was a little late to the party. All right? Again, you're an American. Being a citizen is not a choice. It's an obligation. You must show up. And at the state level in Texas right now, just make this stop. This cannot go forward. I don't know when you're in session, emergency session. Make sure that this never happens in McKinney, Texas. It's up to you now.
I want to read something for you. Bill Cox, Rick Franklin, Justin Beller, Patrick Kluter, Jeray Feltus, Ernest Lynch, Michael Jones.
Those are the 7.
In 20 years, it's going to be something like Abdul El Sayed,
10,000%.
Mohammed Atta. And do you know why I know this? It's because this Islamic center, this multi tens of thousands of square feet Islamic center, is because the Islamists in McKinney had already outgrown the existing Islamic center in McKinney, Texas. Abdul El Sayed is the name of the Democrat Senate nominee for U.S. Senate in Michigan. In Michigan. The absolute irony of people say, well, you know, it's freedom of religion in a place like Texas, and notwithstanding all of the details, all of the context around the Waco siege, our government has shown, you know, if you get on the wrong side of us, if you're in a religious sect, you know, Waco siege, Jonestown, we'll come find you. But we can't do anything against Islam. No, get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. In 20 years, the Bill Cox, Mike Jones, Rick Franklin.
Is there a woman in that group right there, Aaron? I can't.
Jeray Feltus.
What? That's
a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, a doctor. You're not going to sound like Bill Cox and Mike Jones and Rick Franklin. It's going to sound a lot different because Bill Cox and Rick Franklin and Mike Jones and all the others, well, they played a part in the rolling over to the Islamists. The maths on this one, I'm not sure. I think 1 + 1 still equals 2. You see what's happening in Michigan. You see what's already happening in McKinney. The only reason why we're at this point is because they outgrew their own Islamic Center mosque, and they need a new one, a much bigger one. The maths. Apparently, they're not doing math on the McKinney City Council, though.
Or they're doing the devil's arithmetic over there. We're not a nation of laws, and we never will be. We're a nation of political will, and we always will be. Well, Steve, what about religious freedom? I mean, do I have the religious freedom to sacrifice a child? My religion says that I do. What would we do to somebody that believes they can practice child sacrifice? Like the vast majority of religions in the history of this world have advocated. If someone said, hey, my ancestors were Incan and I can Aztecian, I get to execute a kid, what would we say?
Now, remember Admiral Charles Napier, what he said? Let us all live by our traditions.
Yes.
We erect the gibbets and we hang such a man.
So if your religion is debilitating to the state of society, if it goes against the laws of nature and nature's God as revealed by the one true God who spared not even his own son for us while we were sinners and makes the rain fall on the just and unjust alike, if it goes against that, then what would every previous generation of this country have said?
They would have dealt. They wouldn't have just said. They would have dealt with it.
They
would have done.
Either get out, we'll never let you in, or we'll just deport all of you. Get out. Yeah. And that's what it'll have to take here, too. That sounds cruel. Well, look at your little girls and see what they might look like in a burqa in 10 years and talk to them about cruelty.
The Steve Deace Show.
Might help if I plugged in my headphones. It's my first day here. Cut me some slack. We're brought to you by our friends over at Kexi. If you're noticing that everything costs more, it's because it does. Well, except for like half of righty internet thinks everything doesn't cost more. Everyone else, though, knows that it does. Shipping especially. Well, why? Because of gas prices. That's why. Well, here's the thing. Right now, Kexi is offering shipping for $1. $1. That's all the shipping will cost you right now. Their cookie of the month for August is the coffee cake cookie. Sweet cinnamon flavor, buttery streusel on top. Why settle for just a slice of that cake when you can have the whole cake in one cookie? Send a box to yourself, to mom, to the office. But take advantage of this today. You get the $1 shipping today at Kexi.com, and then use the code DACE for 15% off. Code DACE for 15% off at Kexi Cookies, which are awesome. KEKSI, KexiCookies.com. Use the promo code DACE for 15% off and get $1 shipping today at Kexi.com. Let's bring in our good friend Bob Vander Plaats. Good to see you, brother. How are you?
Doing good, but I'm hungry right now. You can't show pictures of a coffee cake cookie, and I'm about ready to order.
Those Kexi cookies are pretty incredible. So let's get to what's not incredible right now. All right.
That's why I love coming in on Monday mornings.
It is Monday after all, so let's go ahead and just get the suckitude out of the way now and embrace it, right?
Yeah,
right.
Carpenters, rainy days and Mondays, and what else?
Oh, you mean like the music group?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was like, I've never heard a carpenter singing about rainy days on the job site, but nowadays, who knows? Everybody's gay. So, sorry.
Oh, some things just come out. Anyhow, go ahead.
Bob, you've lived a little longer than me, but not much. We're not that far apart.
A decade.
Yeah. But it's a decade where it wasn't like you were paying attention politically from 0 to 10 before I was alive, right? Okay.
Nope.
And I'm looking, man, and I've got this prodigious memory that the good Lord gave me, right? I cannot recall a single election, Bob, we've ever won as the incumbent party where our argument was the economy is better than you think it is. And it doesn't matter if we haven't followed through on the things we promised you. Have you seen how radical the Democrats are? Because, we've played this card before. I've seen this one played many times, right? And I'm pretty sure it's over, that it's never been successful one time. And so, this is, what's her first name? The Wisconsin gal that's about to be your next governor, Todd?
Francesca Hong.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Francesca Hong, guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, short of literally just skinning kittens alive on camera, if this economy does not improve, it doesn't matter what radical statement she made yesterday, tomorrow, 6 weeks from now, 25 years ago, it doesn't matter. She's going to be the governor of Wisconsin. That's going to happen. So correct me if I'm wrong. I would like to be wrong because Congress has just decided we weren't doing anything anyway. So we'll just come back. We'll see you in mid-September. So nothing's going to happen there.
No save act.
I have no idea what in the world. I don't even know what law knows at this point what in the world we're doing in the Strait of Hormuz. Somehow attacking Iran ended up trading blockades of the Strait of Hormuz with Iran. I don't know what we're doing at this point. I'm tired of, and I'm not alone. This is the big one, Alice. We're coming to get you. Right? Never mind. Now we're just going to do economic sanctions. What? I know this isn't going to work, or am I wrong? I'll let you talk me out of it. Go ahead.
Well, you're not wrong. And it's one of those things where I just talked with our team. We need to wake up the sleeping giant because of this governor candidate of Wisconsin. Can't even pronounce her name. Francesca Hahn, is it?
Hong.
And her comments, what you're seeing, all over the country. This is spiritual warfare at the end of the day. And I think what's making it so alarming today, it has just become so obvious, good versus evil. But the fact is, if the good isn't going to follow through on the things that we said we're going to follow through on, what motivates those to get out of the pews and to the polls? The thing, though, Steve, I also look at I'm looking at this party system right now in the state of Iowa and across the country and going, we are just controlled by the political class. All the consultants who know best of what we should do, and you pay me and I'll tell you the best what to do, instead of letting the candidates be the candidates, and let's go to actually some places that will actually move numbers. Just leaving a team meeting today and hearing all the consultant type garbage of going, that's all white noise. I was in a donor meeting on Saturday and I told the donor, I said, I've been around a lot of smart people who have made a lot of money, who become exceptionally dumb when it comes to investing in campaigns. Because you're believing the consultants. And the consultants say, give me money so I can pay this vendor and that vendor and that vendor and that vendor, and they give me kickback after kickback after kickback so I can fly my private jets. I can live my lavish lifestyle. Well, we don't care if that candidate goes down in flames or not. We have got a problem. And so to me, I'm looking at one of the most reliable voting blocks you have in the country. We've proved it here over and over and over again in the state of Iowa. But now as we do the Daniel impact across the country, is these church people who are under good teaching, biblical teaching, gospel teaching, of why you want to be a timeless and prophetic voice to the culture. And it moves numbers time and time and time again. I used to teach accounting. I know a little bit about math. 37% of people who are registered, who attend a gospel-believing, Bible-teaching church aren't voting. If you can move a small percentage of that number, you might have a chance. You might have a shot, but give them something to vote for. And I got to tell you, I've reached my Popeye moment. This is all I can stand no more. We are being overly consultant, and what it is, it's paying the consultants, but it's not doing the candidate one bit of good. And it's like, give me a plan. And the plan is this. Guys, code. I'm going to speak directly. The plan is this. Give me a plan that shows the kickback that comes to me as a consultant as I advise the candidate you want to win. I'm telling you what, guys, these guys are selling us down the river. If you want to know why voters are complacent today and why a guy or a girl, whatever she is, Francesca Hong, is going to win the governorship, because people are tired of this stuff. And you're seeing it. I'm concerned right here in the state of Iowa, not only about the stuff, Steve, you talked about nationally, and there's a lot of reasons to be divided nationally, and you got talking heads nationally dividing us, but just locally. You've got one element out there saying, let them lose, let them lose. Basically what you're saying. They're saying, let them pay the price and get beat. And you got consultants saying, give me more, give me more, give me more. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And what it is taking the decision-making away from the candidates. You're putting into the consultants who are shielding the candidates from real voices and real people. And I tell you, I told our team, if this is the way they're going to operate, count me out as well. Count this whole team out as well. We won't work with the churches. We won't work with the churches to say why you need to get involved in this election. Stop taking us for granted. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And it's exactly what you're feeling, what I'm feeling, and what Trump gave voice to in 2016, why he became president, is what the people now are giving voice to. We're tired of it. Stop taking us for granted. Actually deliver on what you said you're going to deliver on. Get rid of those consultants. Mary, I'm going to go back in time. Remember I believe it was a 2012 race that Rick Santorum won the Iowa caucuses? You know who else was in that race, Steve? There are several people. Tim Pawlenty was one of them. Tim Pawlenty was the governor of Minnesota, and there was a lot of hype about Tim Pawlenty, that he could be the next nominee. He could actually win the presidency. And when I had lunch with Tim and Mary Pawlenty after the Iowa caucuses were over and Mitt Romney was your nominee, Tim Pawlenty said, you know, all the consultants told me I need to spend one deviation below Mitt Romney and I'd be the nominee. He goes, what I should have done is spent one deviation above Rick Santorum, and I might have been and not listened to him. But the problem is, every campaign cycle, you see this all the time, every campaign cycle. You got to listen to these well-paid, well-heeled consultants. And I'm telling you what, they're going to lose. If it continues this way, it's August now, they will lose. If they don't get their act together, I think you're going to get more and more people like me going, you know, I'm pulling out. When every bit of me says I want to be all in because I see what's at stake. I see what's at stake in Iowa with the governorship. How many gains have we made in 16 years? Under a Governor Kim Reynolds on religious liberty, sanctity of human life, parental rights, school choice, economics, taxation, regulatory dish, all the stuff we made gains on are all at risk. And we got out-of-state consultants controlling people. Let Iowa be Iowa. And let us, if you want Rob Sand, this will give you Rob Sand. If you want Zach Lane, let Zach Lane be Zach Lane. You guys were both at the tea room dinner, right? After the summit. Play that interview over and over and over again. Zach Lane will become governor. He did outstanding there, but he wasn't heavily consultant either. And it's not just Zach Lane. It's all over the place. And that's why people are done with politics, because it does not represent the best of America or the best of your local state.
So then what do we do about it?
What you do about it is, first of all, you activate people and give people like you on a talk show, Todd and Aaron on a talk show. Give me somebody that leads a ministry where the crosshairs is the church, government, and family, and where those crosshairs are, that's where we play. Give us something to be excited about. Give us something to tell the church. You need to get out to vote. You need to be that timeless and prophetic voice to a culture. And if and when you do, all these things will be upheld, because God says righteousness exalts a nation. Okay? But sin is a reproach to any people. And so you got to be able to take a stand. But what it is, you have to see, the leadership is in results. I tell our team all the time, raise the resources, execute, share results, and when you share results, you got a chance to raise more resources to do that. If you're in elections, cast a vision, deliver, remind the people how you delivered, so they'll embrace your vision for going forward. But right now, it's not that you're just not delivering, it's that your message is all over the board and you're all over the board because you got a myriad of voices spinning in your head.
So in other
I'm
words,
ramped up. Just came from a team meeting today, and I'm like, you know what? This thing, and then I knew I was coming to your program, like rainy days and Mondays always get me down. That's the Carpenters. But it was a thing of, are you kidding me? There's a lot at stake here. For those people who think that Francesco Wong is not a threat just to the people of Wisconsin, but a threat to the people all over this country, are you kidding me? They should be rising up like crazy. Why aren't they rising up? It's not just because how bad they are. Give them something to vote for. Give your people something to vote for.
So I take it to mean then you don't like our prospects if we continue with, we're sorry we didn't do more of the stuff we promised you we were going to do, but have you seen how radical Democrats are? It sounds like you're not very optimistic about that as a message.
There seems to be a growing sentiment of send everybody a message. We're done. And I think what it is, when you see a Fox News poll that has a generic ballot with the Democrats outpacing the Republicans by 11 points, double digits, that should scare, just in a team meeting, our people you guys know well, laying out our election stuff, they said, you know what? Republicans aren't motivated, Democrats are motivated, and independents were getting crushed. You tell me how that's going to turn out. Your team's not motivated, the other team is motivated, and the people who are, either way, we're getting crushed by them. That's not going to turn out well, guys.
I just want to win. That's all I care. I just want to win, and I just know that this feels like, I used this analogy last week when you weren't here. I feel like I'm the guy at home in my man cave watching my favorite team on game day, and we're just running into loaded boxes, and it's like the middle of the third quarter, and we keep thinking 5 guys are going to block 8 or 9, and they can't. Yeah. And you're just sitting in your chair screaming, "Try a play action pass!" Right? And because I want my team to win. The walls are adorned with the logos of my favorite team. I'm wearing the jersey. It's my team. I want them to win. If I didn't want them to win, if I didn't care, if I was indifferent, there'd be no frustration or angst, right? Mm-hmm. The frustration and angst comes from I want to win. And it's very clear we're not doing what will win. And I can just tell you, I know you've been to D.C. quite a few times too. I've been several times this year. I can promise our audience they really do believe, and they're going to redistrict their way out of everything. And the problem with that is, meaning with the gerrymandering.
Yep.
The problem with that is they did about a B- gerrymandering effort. They didn't do as much in the red states that they could have done. They did okay. It's better than it was, typical GOP fashion. It's better than it was, but it's not sufficient to undo still what we're up against, right?
But there again, you're playing a game. Give people leadership. People are hungry. They're thirsting for leadership. They're not thirsting for consultants. They are thirsting for leadership. Give them leadership and they'll rally to you. What you're doing with the gerrymander, sure, go ahead and do it all day. You're just playing a game. You're just playing. How about we actually lead and follow through on the leadership that we promised? That would actually attract some votes, I think.
We have to get the president's attention back here at home. I think everything has to start there. I don't know what, I mean, I really don't know what we're doing over there. I don't know what a win looks like. I honestly don't. I don't know what finish the job means. I don't know what cut a deal means. I don't have a clue. I really don't. And and when I hear these, these catchphrases on both sides of this, no one really defines though what that means, right? We've got to get the president's attention on what's going back.
The only thing that has made sense,
because he's the best salesman and everything we have. He's the best opportunity we have to win. We have got to get his energies refocused here at home.
There's only one thing that makes sense to me when you take a look at that, and I believe you wrote it. I believe he actually even endorsed it. Don't ever attack what you don't intend to kill. And you cannot negotiate with people who hate you, people who lie, people who do disastrous things to their own people. Are you kidding me? They're willing to lie for anything. You have to finish the job. You have to. I mean, forget about the midterms right now, but you need to finish.
What does finish the job mean? What does it mean? You tell me what it means. I'm dying to know. What does it mean?
Well, I think what it is until you get Iran buckled. I mean,
how do we buckle them? What is that? What does buckle look like?
Well, I think one is you got to cut off their revenue source. The $400 million a day, whatever in oil, cut it off.
Well, we could have done that without wasting 5 months on whatever this has been. We could have done that 5 months ago without firing a missile.
I think what the people are saying, Steve, come back to the elections, give me one good reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. But they need something.
I don't disagree.
They need something.
Remember, I just don't know what that reason is, and it's not supplied. We got 30 seconds. I'll give you the last one.
I told our team again is that when I was in my high school senior year, we played our rival. And this was a team that we're going to have to beat to go to the state tournament, but this in the regular season.
20 seconds.
They beat us. But I remember our coach saying they woke up a sleeping giant, and we destroyed them in the district championship, went on to the state tournament. What we need right now is some leadership that wakes up a sleeping giant.
All right, back here with Hour 2, live and on demand. We're live. Here on the Steve Deace Show. Look it, we're live. Haven't done that one in a while. Remember that?
I do.
Oldie but goodie. Let us know what you think about what we think here on the stevedeace.com inbox by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, me, and Gab. You can follow me at Steve Deace Show on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also subscribe to our Rumble channel at Steve Deace on Rumble. And then finally, if you would not mind, and you already listen to the podcast, if you do, thank you. Please demonstrate how much you like us by leaving us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice, as tens of thousands of you already have. And then you may also, if you so desire, please, we desire it, hit that subscribe, or if you're on Apple iTunes, hit that follow button to make sure you never miss an episode. And it's for sure right there in your podcast feed. Steve, why do you desire that? Because that's frankly how I get paid. Can't make it any more simple and blunt than that.
Coattails.
Pretty much it. Therefore, that's how you get paid.
Yes.
And that guy over there, that's how he gets paid. He gets paid too. All right. And we also get paid by telling you about our outstanding partners, like Patriot Mobile, that has served our family's mobile phone needs now for over 6 years, and we've never looked back. All right. They will customize it as best as they can to your family's situation. Keep your number, switch your number, keep your phone, upgrade your phone. They've got 3 major networks within their central hub, which you can switch to anytime you want. And then they also share your value. See, that's the value added. First, do a great product, and they do. That's why our family's been with them for 6 years. So if you want to make the switch today, use my promo code Steve. They'll get you started with a free month of service if you do with the promo code Steve at patriotmobile.com/Steve. Promo code Steve at patriotmobile.com/Steve. Promo code Steve. All right. Are we ready for some Ask Me Anything?
You know, normally concerned about what this hour might do to us, I think there can only be uplift, no matter what the questions are after that first hour.
So Bob and I have been friends, man, good friends for, almost 20 years now. We have literally traveled the country together. The amount of times that he was ornerier and more frustrated about things than me, let's just say it's not happened very often. He's typically the guy that is, hey, there's got to be, there's got to be a rallying moment here, a positive moment here. That's typically and that's one of the reasons why I think we make such a good team, is he tends to see the best in things, and I tend to not to. Right, I start with total depravity and work my way up from there, so that I'm never disappointed. Right? Whew. He's not a happy camper, as you could see. So that's the coach coming out of him. That's the old high school coach coming out of him, saying, "Hey, still time to win this game. It doesn't have to go down like this. This doesn't have to go down like this." We're not sitting here in the fourth quarter on the 2-minute drive now complaining about what happened 2 hours ago in the first quarter. Right? We're still well into the game, or there's still a lot of game on the clock. We don't have to keep doing what's losing here. We don't have to keep doing this.
That's
a choice.
Here's the problem with sports analogies, and but it makes it all the more important to use them right now. We don't have a team. We have all kinds of lone gunmen, at best. They don't care fundamentally about being Americans or citizens. They care about whatever they care about. And as long as that's the case, the other side, as demonic as they are, they're on Team Demon, though. We just don't, there's no rah-rah speech that a coach can give to the right now, because the right is fundamentally very, very comfortable and selfish. If only we could give a team speech. We don't have a team. That's the biggest problem.
Well, and that's been. Were you going to say something, Aaron? You go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've never seen Bob that publicly upset before.
No, not publicly.
So take notes.
Yep.
Whoever that's designed for, take notes, because you don't see him upset that often.
I think that we haven't had a team / movement for many, many years, which is why you end up with a singular figure like Trump in the first place. Okay. And that's why I said to Bob at the end, the first thing that has to happen is we have to get the president's attention back home and on our issues here at home and on the voters here at home. Because rightly or wrongly, we can all debate whether you like it or not. I don't really care if you do or not. It's where we are, I'd prefer Ulysses S. Grant not be on his 4th shot of bourbon before 8 a.m., but is he not the commander of the armies of the Potomac here?
Yeah.
Right? So is Trump the leader here? Is he king of the GOP?
Yeah.
So in general then, how do monarchies do if the king's focus is not on the realm, but elsewhere?
We're looking at it.
We're looking at it right now. We have got to get him, because we don't have a movement. We didn't have a sustainable movement before him, which is why he captured the party. He's the movement. We really have no idea what will come after him, frankly. We don't really know, He'll choose the next nominee if he wants to. Maybe he won't want to. Or maybe he'll want to choose it after a time of trial. None of us really knows, and none of us has any kind of leverage to determine that for him. He's going to singularly determine that himself, right?
Yep.
Because that's what kings get to do. Right now, The king is focused on things in another hemisphere and not here. And we've got to get his focus back here. This is feeling to me so much like the summer of 2020. And I know, I bristled when you brought up that comparison. That was like 2 months ago now. But this is so much feeling like the summer of 2020 where, all right, they're cool. They remember they had that great press conference where they showed us the COVID map for the first time and they used the term influenza-like illness. Remember that? And and to show us where it was growing and what could reopen. Like, okay, it's not as aggressive as what I would be doing, but at least it's a plan. We got a vision, we got a plan, right? There was some pushback. What happened? That plan collapsed. Remember they did the big meeting at the White House. Guys, the events of 2020 are seared into the frontal lobe. I will never forget. Remember they did that big summer event at the White House about why we had to reopen schools and how that could be done safely, right?
Sure.
And they had that big event there, got some pushback on that. That whole entire thing collapsed. And I really didn't feel like the president really got ahead of the events of COVID until September. I think it was late September when he got COVID and went into the hospital. And I think he was one of the first people that got the antibody treatment, if I remember right. And he came out and said, "Okay, I've lived through this now. That we can treat this. This isn't a death sentence for everybody." Like, and I would argue the messaging he was on after that event, I would argue he won that election, and it was stolen from him and from us. I've always believed it. I believed it on election night, and you're never going to talk me out of it. But the only reason we were in that position for them to steal it, for it to be close enough for them to steal, is that he was off message and lacked focus for how many months? He is the leader. He has to, if he's not on message and he's not focused, the entire realm will suffer. That's just the reality of living with a king. And Trump is the king of the Republican Party. We have got to get him back here focused. We cannot afford to expend any more political capital over there. No one can steal. Do you know what I'm asking? Do you know what finish the job means? Do you know what that means?
No.
Because I assume it means we're going to do regime change, but every time I say that, the people who use that terminology come back at me and say I'm being a demagogue. Okay, well, then tell me what it means. I don't know what it means. Do you know what it means?
I have no idea. I've said that for a while now.
I don't know what it means.
Nobody does.
If we're going to do financial penalties, we could have done that this entire time and not wasted whatever it is we've been doing for the last 4 to 5 months.
Do you know what woke one means?
I don't know what woke one means either. I don't.
It's pretty much the same as finish the job.
I don't.
In Iran.
And I don't think there's anything America first about prioritizing another region of the world when we're not doing anything. It would be one thing if we were like affirmatively doing something. We're not affirmatively doing anything. Like if you daily saw devastation of Iran and its regime, like daily video of this, maybe you'd think a little bit differently, right?
Possibly.
But that's not what we see. As far as we know, we're just kind of parked outside one end of the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's parked outside the other, and we're just kind of sitting around watching the American people pay $7 for a gallon of diesel. We're just kind of doing that for reasons. What are we doing? We need to get the president back home. That's the first step. We need the president's focus. We need the king's focus here at home, at court.
And by at home, do you mean the reflecting pool? Do you mean the ball? I'm serious. Do you mean the ballroom?
No.
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 I think we're talking about
the stuff people vote on.
Deporting invaders and making sure they can't vote while they're in line to be deported.
Go back and watch the president's interviews on Theo Von and all those shows. Go watch the Rogan one in particular, man. The president's interview on Rogan reminded me of that Phil Hartman skit on SNL from many, many years ago, where he was Reagan, and Reagan was just kind of pretending to be an amiable dunce until the news media turned off the cameras. And then he's like running the entire Iran-Contra thing from the top of his head. He knows like all the exchange rates. He's running, the aides are falling asleep and Reagan's making 1 a.m. calls, just running the whole thing, right? The interview, the level of detail Trump showed on just the intricacies of policy that nobody other than Daniel Horowitz in my life cares about to that level of detail blew my mind. We need that guy back. Nowhere in that conversation was indefinite war with Iran. That is it even a war? It's kind of at one. We're not in one. Maybe. What? No, stuff people care about. No one talked about the reflecting pool in that interview. No one talked about that stuff. We need to get the president's focus back here at home. And with that, this part of the show, Ask Me Anything, brought to you by our friends over at MD Hearing. Speaking of insane prices, one place where you can do something about it. You don't have to pay $8,000 or whatever it is for those hearing aids. Because MD Hearing delivers high-quality, rechargeable digital hearing aids for less than $300 a pair. That's over 90% less than a lot of the traditional clinical hearing aids out there. MD Hearing, created by a medical professional who saw how his patients needed help hearing but were unable to afford it in too many cases. So he set out to do something about that. And MD Hearing's new Neo model fits inside the ear, so it's nearly invisible. The new Neo XS is their smallest hearing aid ever. No bulky hardware, no learning curve. Just get big savings with a tiny hearing aid from MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com. Use the promo code STEVE to get a pair of hearing aids for less than $300. A pair for less than $300. You can't beat it. Plus, they're adding a free extra charging case. That's a $100 value just for being a part of our show. All right, that's shopmdhearing.com, promo code Steve. Shopmdhearing.com, promo code Steve. And please make sure to tell them that I sent you over there with promo code Steve at shopmdhearing.com. All right, are we ready for some Ask Me Anything?
Let's give it a shot.
All right, these questions this week come from our followers over on Facebook. Todd, you have curated these questions. We'll get through as many of them as we possibly can. What remains, we will deal with in the overtime. And Aaron, you may fire when ready.
C.S. Collins is first, who says, which NBA team will you, Todd, and Aaron be declaring for respectively?
Nice. No, my basketball playing days, I love the sport of basketball, but my basketball playing days ended with degenerative tissue in the Achilles tendon diagnosis about 10 years ago. That's the last time I've played a competitive game, which breaks my heart to say. Maybe no singular hobby, the active hobby I have, that I spend more time doing than playing basketball. My entire childhood, teenage years, well into my adult years. But yeah, so it won't be me. I'll leave that to men who actually still have what it takes. I would not be one of them.
Oh yeah, I'm broken. I can't. But
this time last year, man, Todd was glad it was 10,000 degrees because he was literally walking up and down the street out here, okay, just to heat up his back so he could stand up and sit down again. That's kind of where you and I are at right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's going to be the Cleveland Sirens coming in 2028.
Yes, I saw that.
Because there's one thing people think about when they see Aaron McIntyre is, wow, that's a siren right there.
So will their team theme music be called a siren song? Huh? Huh? No.
Jared Miller. Is Michigan Mecca 2.0 now?
Dearborn. I think you'll find out about the whole state in this election. I mean, but Dearborn has been the highest concentration of Islam in America for, a couple decades now. I think I looked at it county by county, and the vast majority of Saeed's vote came from the county surrounding the University of Michigan, which would include Dearborn, and from Michigan State University, about an hour and a half away in the central part of the state. So we'll see. I don't know Mike Rogers at all, but I think the tactic that I saw him take right out of the gate the day after the primary last year was making a direct appeal to Democrats. I think it was very smart. I don't know how many of them he'll get to affirmatively vote for him, but if you could at least portray yourself as non-threatening to them right from the beginning, they might be less inclined to get out and vote against you, if that makes sense.
None of this makes sense.
And keep in mind, though, in Michigan, you've got to win by a margin. Because remember our friend and colleague Sarah Gonzalez did that special here on Blaze TV about voter fraud in Michigan leading into 2024. Remember that? It's essentially more of a crime to report voter fraud in Michigan than it is to commit it. Right? If you're a Blaze TV subscriber at blazetv.com/Deace, I'm sure Sarah's expose on Michigan voter fraud is still up there on the website somewhere. Go back and watch it. It'll blow your mind. It's essentially more likely you'll be found guilty of a crime reporting voter fraud in Michigan than committing it.
See, you've said this about Michigan and the Republican Party. There's no team to rally. This is 2026, right? The presidential election got stolen in 2020. Like, was anything changed about that? Did you? Again, I just
trying to remember.
We are in New York. As long as you just see it happening right now, as long as the men of New York will bow to Allah as long as they can keep watching football, and the same is true in Michigan, and the same is true in Texas.
We do have a team. Have you ever seen 5 or 6 year olds play soccer? Try to be organized. That's our team. Their team is, chanting the dark tongue of Mordor.
Yeah.
So Trump won Michigan. It looks like by, I'm doing some quick math here, roughly 800,000 votes, it looks like. Yeah. It looks like roughly I can't be right. No, about roughly 80,000 votes. So bad math, sorry. Extra zero. Roughly 80,000 votes. It looks like Trump won Michigan by. Out of about 6 million, almost 6 million votes cast. About 5.7 million. And he won it by less than 80,000 if my math off the top of my head is right. I'm going to straight up tell you, my guess is he probably won that state legit by 4 or 5 points. Just knowing the way the ballot harvesting and stuff goes in that state, what you're allowed to do.
And here we are, but with the same reality, they're going to steal it. Has to win by a margin. And what? Oh, before they went into August recess, what's the last issue?
Making sure Missouri football was recognized for a national
championship.
This is what
we were talking about,
years
the
ago.
Safe College Sports Act. We're not serious. This is the Congress that's run by Republicans. There's no team.
Kevin,
we've got to get the king back focused. He's the only one that has the leverage and power to get as many of these elements as possible doing what needs to be done. That's just the reality. He just, and the president has never demonstrated he is a great multitasker. So, not his gift. So, we have got to get the president's focus back here at home.
Kevin Price says, why or how is it that Catholics, one, the main church group who deals with exorcisms, and two, have seemingly more knowledge of angels and their roles than I've ever heard from the Protestants, seems extra biblical?
Well, I mean, it depends on what tradition you're thinking of when it comes to Protestantism. So, the teaching known as cessationism grew immensely in popularity after the Protestant Reformation, and I'm sola scriptura, not sola reforma. Okay, so I go to the Church of Jesus Christ. I don't go to the Church of John Calvin. And I don't go to the Church of Martin Luther, and I don't go to the Church of John Knox, that dude was based, okay? All men I have some level of admiration for, but I go to the Church of Jesus Christ, okay? And so, ironically, if I based my thoughts off of them, that kind of make me more Catholic. It'd be based more off of tradition than what I think the scriptures think, ironically. So I say that because I'm 100% convinced that some of the doctrines that came out of the Protestant Reformation were frankly just to draw distinct lines from Catholics. Just straight up tribalism and territorialism. Just straight up.
Good thing that time's over now, Steve.
And you didn't let me finish my sentence.
No, I'm not. It's a punchline.
Okay. But I think that's one of the reasons why we have so jettisoned tradition within the Protestant side today. Rather than admitting that someone who once called themselves a Catholic in another millennia or eon or century might have been right about something, we just act like Christianity began in 1517. But nothing could be further from the truth. Right? So, the doctrine of what we call today cessationism grew greatly in popularity the further we got into the Reformation. Why? Because cessationism teaches that the giftedness of from the Holy Spirit that would require things like the performing of exorcisms, for example, died out with the apostles. And one way to get around the apostolic succession argument of Catholics is to just say that The apostolic era was its own era, and when it ended, that was it. And Catholics are not cessationists because they believe in apostolic succession. Succession, I should say. I'm talking like you guys are Confederates. We're actually the Confederates. We split. Right? So, succession, I meant to say, not secession. Okay? I'm surprised you didn't. That's the part you should have corrected me on, was that part. Okay? But so a lot of your belief in this giftedness and whether the church has the authority to do things like this come from your understanding of cessationism or not. And do the gifts of the Holy Spirit continue on? So you can be a cessationist and believe they ended with the apostles. So they died out with the apostle John, essentially. That doesn't mean that you don't. Now, sometimes cessationists will get wrongly accused of not believing in miracles and healings, and that's not true either. Right? They'll gather around and pray and put hands and stuff on people, but they believe this is an act that God does through His Holy Spirit independently and is an act of His sovereignty. So they view it as an independent act of God's sovereignty, not as something that is carried forth within the human vessels of authority that God has granted. So if you're a cessationist, you have that view. If you're a continuist, it means you don't believe there's any biblical evidence for the gifts of the Holy Spirit ending along with the apostolic era. That you believe continuous literally means you think they continued on. But you're somewhat skeptical because they've often been used to manipulate people or to deny or try to overcome God's word.
Don't you believe in the power of Benny Hinn's jacket, Steve?
No, that would make you, yeah. And then if you're a charismatic, then you absolutely believe those things carried on full throat, and you're going to probably give more of the benefit of the doubt to someone making these claims than someone who does not. All right? And so those are kind of the three camps within Protestantism on these things. If you're in a charismatic Protestant denomination, then you won't do exorcism because the liturgy is explicitly Catholic, but you'll do things like deliverance ministry, for example, because you do believe that these gifts have carried on and that some people do have an ability and a giftedness in order to do things like deliver people from demons, cast out spirits, or perform exorcisms as the Catholic Church does it with its liturgy. Everybody okay with that answer? Anybody want to correct anything there?
I mean, he seemed like he was asking from the Protestant side, and is it the more that was a textbook, the more specific,
and that's all I was trying to give.
No, right.
I'm not trying to play referee. I'm just trying to play. Right. Just here are the terms.
I guess to the degree that you just said, I never thought I'd be using the term demonic as much on my show as I ever been. And you're the guy that's always had an explicitly Christian show. Like, is this coming up more? Is it being more formalized in the last decade? Do you see
10,000%.
signs of this?
10,000%. I don't think there's any question about it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If for those of you, because I will now get the follow-up question. Where do I come down on this? I would refer to myself as a continuist. All right. I don't believe there's any biblical evidence whatsoever, the explicit biblical evidence anyway, that this kind of individual giftedness died out with the apostles. But I do think charismatics do a poor job of taking out the trash. As I've said on this show many times, Reform Bro just takes the trash out every day. Every day it's trash day. And do not ask for whom the trash truck cometh, or because he cometh for thee. Right. So
even when it's a perfectly good white boy like that. What movie?
What
movie was it?
What movie was that?
Damn shame, throwing away a perfectly good white boy.
Is that Blazing Saddles?
No, it's not a Western.
Oh, that's where the white women are at. That's Blazing Saddles. Yeah, that's right. So Reform Bro will just take the trash even on holidays.
Is it Better Off Dead?
It's trash day 365 for Reformed Bro, but a lot of times Charismatic Bro never has a trash day. You're like, could you at least have a garage sale or something every few months? Like this Jesse Duplantis guy over here, we all agree he's a clown, right? Then we got to move on, So just my own personal read.
Next we'll go to Todd Miller. What do you think of the Banana Ball Baseball League?
I'd not even heard of this until like a month ago. I didn't know anything about it. It looks like good, clean fun to me based on the limited knowledge of it I have. Is there something more to it that I'm not aware of?
It's a scourge. Why do we need this? It's just like that ridiculous wiffle ball league. It's just
a scourge.
Honestly, why? Are we entertaining ourselves to death? Look at how desperate we are for the dopamine hits. We have a real baseball league. What are you doing? What are you doing?
See, that's a good.
Everybody in their stupid fantasy
that's a good point.
football.
We already have a league that has the best players in the world. What is the point? But these guys are selling out like football stadiums.
Yes,
and stuff, right?
It's very, very popular.
Yeah.
I
don't know much about it. Is it kind of slapsticky? Is that kind of what it is?
Well, there's bells and whistles and lights, and the guys are. It's like the Harlem Goat. They're doing backflips before in the outfield before they catch the ball. The umpires are doing backflips. It's just Why? Everybody, look at this nation. You're just all crackheads. This is constantly looking for titillation. It's so obvious.
This week, it's becoming Ask Us Anything. Right.
Todd wants to chloroform all new forms of joy.
Todd is chomping at the bit. It's Ask Us Anything this week. Although in this case, I needed an assist because I don't really know much about him. I thought it was kind of slapsticky, gimmicky, but I didn't know much about it. Never seen like any video or anything about it. Never even heard of it till like just a few weeks ago.
Well, you saw that video, the game, the tournament for the video games, and they're getting their dander up and about
the
to
guys
get
having
in
a fight over Call of Duty. Yeah,
losers.
I agree with you on that. I completely agree with you on that. Yeah. Aaron, were you going to say something?
It's just basically the Harlem Globetrotters just for baseball.
Yeah, what's the harm? That's a good point.
Because our country's dying. Why are we adding more there? How about... Really, this is the math. You're endlessly entertaining yourself to death.
Okay. All right.
Islam, we're sitting here complaining
about
about
there's nothing inherently immoral about the banana. What do they call the banana splits? What are they called?
Yeah, there is something.
Savannah bananas.
Nothing inherent.
Savannah bananas.
There's something inherently moral about the idolatry of entertaining ourselves to death while supposedly is Islam taking over or not?
So if this was like 1978 and your dad was like, "Let's go see the Savannah Bananas," you wouldn't feel like Dad was taking it like to an OnlyFans convention or something.
No.
Your issue is just in general, we just don't have time for any more frivolity. It's just your overall principle, which I get.
Yes.
I get that. Okay. More of Ask Us Anything next. Stay tuned.
The Steve Deace Show.
All right, back here on the Steve Deace Show, powered by our friends over at World Watch. If you're looking for screen time that your whole family can actually agree on, well, as the new school year begins, World Watch is a great way to help your teen stay informed without feeling like they're overwhelmed. Created specifically for them, World Watch delivers fact-based news from a Christian worldview in just about 10 minutes a day, each episode covering current events, global headlines, human interest stories, and fun explainers that will help your kids understand what's happening in the world, but with clarity, context, and hope. So instead of clickbait, rage bait, sensationalism, so common today, World Watch gives families a trusted source for current events that sparks curiosity and encourages more meaningful conversations while helping teens to develop discernment through a biblical worldview. So get started today. See the difference for yourself with a free 30-day trial by visiting worldwatch.news/Steve, right? And use the promo code Steve for your free trial today. That's worldwatch.news/Steve. Use the promo code Steve for your free trial today. All right, let's get back going here with some Ask Me Anything, courtesy of our Facebook followers. Aaron, let's keep it rolling.
We're going to go to Jim Stocker, who's doing a little bit of light reading. He says, I've been reading City of God by St. Augustine, and he posits something that I'd never considered. Born-again believers have the indwelling Holy Spirit, which helps us in our process of sanctification and ultimately make our will closer to God's. The holy angels, whose nature is good, have a will that's even closer to God's, though short of his perfection, and this is, according to Augustine, because he has given them his Holy Spirit as well. What are your thoughts? Do the non-fallen angels have the Holy Spirit as we do, or are they just uniquely holy because God created them as such without having to indwell them with his Spirit? Their will is good because God created it, and they have willfully chosen not to defect from him as the demons have. But did God pour out his Spirit on them in a similar fashion as he has done for us? I found this idea to be interesting, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Thank you. That's from Jim Stalker.
Well, I'm going to try to give a non-snotty answer here. Let me pause. So, City of God was something I read early on in my immediate 3-year post conversion era, where I was trying to soak everything up I could. And I don't remember any of that. I don't. And that's more. I've been a Christian for 23 years. It'll be 23 years in September. I wrote the book it was based on and executive produced a film that a lot of people think is the most realistic portrayal of demonic influence that's ever been projected onto a screen. And I've never considered anything that you ever wrote like one time. And it's fascinating, but I'm going to sound like Todd for a second, okay? I am. Let me take this out of your question to a different context. The Nephilim are in the Bible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Are they the whole Bible?
They are not.
Are they even a major part of the Bible?
Well,
I mean, are they?
No, not in the way you mean.
But if you listen to the Bro Dude podcasters, they get tens of millions of downloads.
Yeah.
What's their favorite Bible verse?
So
or the favorite Bible story?
Do they treat this like Boba Fett?
Yeah, exactly. That's what an analogy that is. What an analogy that is. Yeah. Yeah. A guy that's had, 4 total speaking lines in the actual Star Wars trilogy originally?
Yes.
Yeah. And I kind of think the point of City of God, that Augustine's main point is, what kind of people ought we to be in light of the kingdom we represent and the fallen world we are to represent it before? And I'm sure this is a fascinating topic, but I don't think it's the kind of subplot that I honestly don't think we have time for right now. What would it take for me to investigate that is just time that would take away from trying to defend my way of life against Islam, paganism, and this could become like the new Nephilim, where this is Joe Rogan's favorite Bible story. I mean, you had Wesley Huff on for 3.5 hours, and the takeaway for every other requisite Bible conversation Joe Rogan's had is the Nephilim. That's your big takeaway? And I just think that this isn't the main takeaway of Augustine's work. I don't mean to be flippant. I don't mean to be snotty. I could have given just my immediate reaction, which is I don't care. I just don't have time to entertain that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. I've never considered it. I don't have an answer. I don't know.
It's almost literally as close as I think we can get to. It's a how many angels can dance on the head of a pin question. And it's not that there's not deep theological insights there, but my answer to this is the same as the Savannah Bananas. Can we get the Christianity 101 down? Because it's nowhere. It's absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a broader application here that matters, I mean, if you're trying to make a broader application about, for example, a third of the angels fall. God offers them no salvation at all. Just complete and total eternal condemnation. And yet we are offered salvation, right? What's unique about us compared to angels that God would offer it to us and not offer it to his original, well, maybe not original, but those who were created before we were? I think that's an interesting conversation. What is unique about us in God's prophetic plan that we are offered a redemption and salvation that angels are not offered? I think that's okay if we're having a broader construct along those ways, but this is just and I'm a Theo nerd, but right now, man, with my schedule and everything, if it isn't going to save what's left of Western civilization or my soul, I just don't have time for it. I'm sorry.
Next, we go to this. I think it's Reshok. Asks, what was the point of Jesus walking on the water to the disciples in the storm? Then Peter walking out to him. What was the point of all that?
Well, the first point is that he is demonstrating, this is a demonstration of his power and authority. That even the winds and the waves obey him. So one of the things that when God originally reveals himself to his covenant people, Israel, he does so miraculously. First with a burning bush to Moses, right? And then later, God takes the natural world that the Egyptians, the most powerful empire in the world that existed for over 1,000 years. It was the most powerful empire the world had seen up until that point in human history. And all of its deities, from the Nile to animals, everything, it worshipped the natural world. And so God is demonstrating his sovereignty to his covenant people over the natural world, the supernatural, him being the supernatural, over the natural and lesser supernatural. That's what each of those plagues represent some key aspect of the Egyptian pantheon and or culture. Similarly here, Christ is now announcing himself to his new covenant people, the church, just as he did in the Old Testament, because that's Jesus too. Jesus is God. So he is now announcing himself yet again, sovereign over the natural world. He is both fully God and fully man. So if we go back to that scene, the disciples are very fearful, afraid. They're up against a natural force that is beyond them, that could be precarious to them, maybe even lethal to them. And Jesus is demonstrating his lordship by even the wind and the waves obey him. So what does it mean that Peter got out and walked on the water too? Well, to get the full meaning of that, you have to know what happened when what caused Peter to cease walking on the water. It's when he took his eyes off his Lord. So the point being that, Jesus says to his disciples, you will go on and do even greater things than me. So while he is fully God and fully man, he has limitless power and potential, right? But he is, because of his humanity, has chosen to confine himself into just one singular vessel, right? Now that there are apostles and the Holy Spirit comes to live inside of each of them, and all of the billions of followers of Christ there have been since the first century, right? That multiplies the power, the hope of glory, Christ in each of us. Then now entire nations and cultures can be toppled by the multiplication of that movement, provided we keep our eyes on him. Jesus says, for I am the vine, you are the branch. Those who remain in me will produce much fruit. Apart from me, what can you do? Nothing. So Peter is connected. In faith, he steps out. He loses that. He takes those eyes off of Christ, and what happens? He loses that connection. And so that is a reminder. When I first knew Rob Bell was a problem, is I was watching one of his Pneuma videos. It was early in my conversion. And he said that it wasn't really that Peter lost his faith in Jesus, as you've been taught, but Peter forgot that Jesus has faith in us. I remember I stood up and said, whoa, no, he didn't. That's kind of what that's when I was like, I think Houston, we might have a problem, or Grand Rapids in that case, because that's where Rob Bell was from, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids, we may have a problem, all right? But that's essentially the main point of that story, to demonstrate the power and authority of Christ as Lord over the natural world, that even the wind and the waves obey him, and then that we will have paradigm-shifting power through Christ, provided we are connected to him. Now, that paradigm-shifting power could be ending generations of dysfunction and addiction that have destroyed a family, and then through your salvation, things are reset through you, right? Okay. But the thing to remember though is we have to stay connected to Christ, or as Paul says, I die daily.
Yeah, I mean, this Elijah is God in the storm, is God in the wind.
Yes,
it's in the still, small voice.
Yes.
So it's not just power over nature; it's power, and this is why what you just said there at the end, the chaos in your life, the chaos, the noise, which is why I'm so hard on fantasy football, toy lightsabers, and video games. Oftentimes you see men at their spiritual height these days with that stuff. And it's purposefully distracting, and they say I find anything else boring. I can't sit still. I don't want to be. We have 40-year-olds with ADD basically still. No, you have got, so the dopamine hits are actually, no matter what you say, the reason why you like them, it's just who you are. They're actually distracting you from God. He's in the still small voice. You must put all of it down. You must smash all the idols.
Let's go to this one. Victoria Gullah asks, what sort of discussion did you have with your mom before airing your shared story to a radio audience? I sort of cringe for her when you mention it in blunt or harsh tones. I'm sure she's used to it, but sometimes it comes out of left field. Maybe she doesn't listen. Has she ever given her testimony to an audience, church, pro-life fundraisers, etc., to be public under her own voice? Hope she's doing well, and you all get lots of visits this summer when you're taking a day off or playing a pre-recorded show.
I put this in. I just wanted to say you don't need to worry about her. She is so proud of Steve. I mean, the smile on that woman's face, I haven't seen her it's been more than a year now, but I mean, it's just beaming. So she gets it like Steve gets it. It was hard, but we all came through it together, and this is the product for enduring, being faithful. So
I'll tell you that the time, I think once or twice I've gotten to meet her, but the first time I got to meet her is like meeting a rock star. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. She's a great lady. She's partially disabled, so she doesn't do a lot of talking and stuff in public anymore. Years ago, we did do like a testimony video with her talking a lot about this. Might even been before you guys came here. Might have been when Jen and Rebecca were here.
I think so.
That would have been well over a decade ago. But we see her at least every other Sunday at the house for dinner. And my mom never misses an episode. Never. She'll remind me stuff gets talked about and said on the show all the time. So, yeah.
Josh has this question. Two questions, actually. Question number one, is this live? Number two, when Scripture commands us to pay taxes, Romans 13, render under Caesar, etc., what is expected out of believers, especially in our American tax system, one possibly more complex than the biblical ones? I've done income tax work, so the question has significance. Attempting to fully comply with all facets of the tax code is difficult for any person, even a professional like me, if not an idolatrous endeavor, due to the code's vagueness and complexity. I understand the meta point of these directives. It's the granular level application I seek clarity on. For instance, are believers expected to reconcile omissions and mistakes from years ago? Should believers comply with minor portions of the code if state and federal agencies can't enforce everything? Were biblical authors expecting believers to become experts on the tax code, etc.?
It's a great question, brother. And I think it as detailed as the question is, I think the answer is going to be simpler than maybe you were expecting. We always leave out that last portion of Romans 13 there, okay? Pay all those the taxes they're due and the honor that they are due, or that they are due. That's your answer, okay? So in this case, if the system is very complex and you can't remember and dot every I and cross every T you could possibly imagine, then the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath, right? Okay? In general, as long as you are paying the government what it is owed for the peace it does keep, for the safety it does provide, it's okay. But you don't owe them any more than that. You don't. If the government puts loopholes in its own tax system, you're welcome to exploit said loopholes. It's their tax system. Did you write it? No, they wrote it,
yes.
Right? So if there's loopholes, deductions, and things of that nature, by all means, you're welcome to take advantage of those things. There's a million ways you're going to get taxed: excise taxes, sales taxes, right? income taxes, property taxes. There's a million ways they're gonna squeeze blood out of your turnip. So if they don't have all their their various regulations down because of the monstrosity they built, well, that's their problem then. You didn't build the tax code. Well, you're welcome to take advantage of it to any portion you want. Just pay people what they're owed and give people the honor they're owed. And you don't owe people any more than what they're owed, and you don't give government or anybody else an honor it doesn't deserve. That's all.
I'm absolutely certain with the New Testament, we did not trade one version of Levitical law for another. And that's what, as deep as this goes, you're basically saying we have a new Levitical law to follow, which brings
right on
back to Steve's point. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
I mean, you should not be looking to commit fraud, because that's the spirit of the law. The New Testament law is the spirit of the law. You shouldn't be looking to commit fraud. But no, you don't have to sit here and examine yourself at a microscopic Levitical level. That's also not how it works. No. All right, we're going to deal with the rest of these in the overtime today for Blaze TV subscribers. For the rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow, noon to 2 Eastern, right after Glenn Beck, right here on Blaze TV. Until then, go hard. Romans 8:28.